What's up, guys? Hades here. Today, I want to talk about a specific skill you've probably seen in the thumbnail, and that's purification. I recently got it, and it really has filled out my march very, very nicely. Now, there's so many aspects to a march. There's 12 skills, there's 4 artifacts, 4 heroes, the dragon, all the gems, everything. There's so many little details, but it's really nice to dive into one and really understand what effects it's having in a match and why it's so important. Now, I have two really good replays that kind of fully demonstrate the purification and what makes it so good. So let's jump into those. I've had some arena hits. A lot of these were just testing. The results aren't really that big a deal. But these two matches here, both these players are running Earth with Khan. And this is very important because Earth with Khan is the weakness to my team. Now, here I was testing Gilgamesh, but the point still stands. He has a Khan with Fighting Master. It can't be stopped. He's going to get that wound down no matter what. But here I have Purification, and Purification is going to cleanse that wound, and I'm focusing on that dynamic, the wound and Purification cleansing. Purification obviously does more than that, but every 3 seconds, it's every 3, there's no percent, so every 3 seconds it activates, boom, boom, boom. It removes debuffs and abnormal states from random friendly units. If this unit does not have a debuff, then you get a 160% heal. So it's pretty decent against non-wounding teams. You're going to get those heals, but it's extra good against things like Khan. Now, if we look at the stats real quick, of course, I was testing how good executioner and things were on Gilgamesh, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the healing, right? So let's see if we can find some Purification healing. 4 times for 700k, and I believe it only procs on her. So 4 activations where it was already clean and you get a heal. The heal is relatively significant. Vitality is a healing skill, and Purification got well more than half, probably about 60% of it, which is pretty solid. But let's go ahead and watch this replay. And I'm going to be using the new feature, mostly just to depict what is kind of happening here. So after the dragons go, we get this new feature, and I've been using this quite a bit. It helps show what's happening and why, right? And we can kind of see what each one is, and I'll be showing you what they are and what's important. What I'm waiting for is the Khan ultimate. As soon as that Khan ultimate goes, we're going to get all these new symbols, and you're about to see it. Right there. These pluses are all wound debuffs, right? And you can see they faded, and then they reapplied. And then Purification took one off right here. Purification took one off of Gilgamesh, and then they reapplied. And then the one came off Gilgamesh, and every 3 seconds one's getting cleansed, and it's random. And then boom, Khan reapplied, now it's on Alex. And sometimes this is the RNG that helps you win a fight or not. If Alex had gotten that Purification early, he would have been able to carry harder, right? When it becomes a close match, we're not really concerned with the match. It's more about that value Purification is giving. And that the cleanse goes even further. When we go back into the stats and you go into healing, you can see Berserk, 30 attempts were discarded and 19 were successful. And we noticed that Alex did not get very many of those healing options. Gilgamesh only got a few towards the end, and seemed like Zenobia got a lot of them in the early part of that game. Yeah, you can see 50% is a much higher chance that she had. So let's jump into another replay. This one was against Crusher. He was using Khan as well. He does not have Fighting Master on Khan, which is much better for me and a big reason why I win this match. Also, Elizabeth I have is much more maxed, and she is a bit stronger. So obviously this is going to fly a little bit better for me. But let's go ahead and watch again and see where those wounds come from and how valuable it is. So his con's going to go much slower this time. And you're going to see how much more value I get when he's getting stunned and he's getting silenced, and there's not as much he can do with the wounds. And you can see he hasn't ulted yet, so there's not going to be any wound here, and we can watch it here on the side. It also shows the mini picture in the middle, and now he's shot his arrow, and for some reason there is no wound. Could be a visual bug, but I'm actually not sure why there's no wound. There's the wound. Alex got cleansed immediately, which is a huge reason why I win, because you can tell here the match is still very even, right? It's 80 to 80, but now I have my Elizabeth stacking up her demonic. Alex got cleansed. You can see over their heads, none of them are being debuffed. You can see through this replay thing or without it. But the con is also about to ult, so let's just keep watching. You can see these green zeros, like debuff, 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 debuff. And so you can see who got undebuffed. Alex and Charles no longer have it. And getting rid of that debuff just plays a lot into the game. Now, Purification goes even further and is not just a wound debuff, but it debuffs, it cleanses everything. Oops. It removes all negative debuff and abnormal state. Now, one of the big ones, I'm not sure if my opponents were using it. Well, one is Weakening Curse, but one is Toxin Barrier. A very strong skill. I don't have a report of that, I don't think. Maybe I do. Let's find one. None. Maybe here. Yeah, here we go. Let's watch. Let's see if he did any toxin damage. He did do some toxin damage. Now, ideally, toxin doesn't do as much because it should be cleansing it from purification. But toxin's gonna be stacking on both Alex and Zenobia. Obviously, this is not my real March. This is not the skills I would normally use. I was testing here and I got hit in the arena, so it's not a great report. But the point is reducing that toxin on your own team because it's debuffing you, right? It's doing 10. You're doing 10% less damage. So when my Alex is stacked up to his Alex, I'm doing 10% less damage every time it activates, and then I'm doing 20% less, and then I'm doing 30% less. And once it gets to 5, it'll explode and do a bunch of damage, which is not good. But if I cleanse it, well, then I'm now doing full damage, and they don't get the damage. So Purification is a massive counter to Toxin Barrier. And for me, those are the two things I mainly look at. There are a bunch of more details, but having Purification denies the toxic value, and it denies the wound value a lot of the times. Now, the downfall that it has is that randomness, right? On a random friendly unit. That can be a little detrimental, and that's where a lot of the RNG plays in. This is why Theodora is so good. Excuse me, not Theodora. Athena. She's the only other way to remove wounds besides having Dual Master. So yeah, if you need the wound reduction or you are constantly losing to cons and kins from hybrids, you might want to pick up Purification. It really helps my March a lot to be more well-rounded and not so vulnerable to some of these heroes. I highly recommend it. It's a very good skill. It's been doing a great job for me. I've been doing tons and tons of testing. If you like these kinds of videos, make sure you leave a like and a comment, and I will catch you guys in the next one.